Hello everyone, welcome back to another session of our online chemistry class. In the last class we were discussing about ammonia under the chapter study of compounds. So we have discussed about two methods for laboratory preparation of ammonia. So as a continuation we will be discussing the industrial manufacture of ammonia. Okay, so there is a name for this process. It is named after the scientist who proposed this. The name of the process, it is called Haber process. So Haber process, it is the preparation of ammonia in the industry using nitrogen and hydrogen. So ammonia is prepared in the laboratory using nitrogen and hydrogen. So I'm not going to discuss about how they are going to get nitrogen and hydrogen. That is a little bit out of the syllabus. So first what we are going to take is the reactant, the two gases that we record, nitrogen gas and hydrogen gas. It is prepared by certain process, it is separated by certain process. After that, we are passing these two gases into the compressor. Okay, so nitrogen and hydrogen, it is added to the compressor in 1:3 ratio. So 1:3 ratio means 1 volume of nitrogen, and if you are taking 1 volume of nitrogen, 3 volume of hydrogen is required to compensate that for the reaction. So nitrogen and hydrogen in 1:3 ratio, it is given to the compressor. Now after that what we are going to do, what is happening in this compressor? So the compressor here, it compresses the nitrogen and hydrogen mixture into very high pressure. So after that, these two gases, it is transferred to the next chamber. The name of that chamber, it is called catalytical chamber. So what is a catalytical chamber? It is a chamber in which the reactants are reacting in presence of catalyst. That means there is some reaction that is going on here, which is mediated by a catalyst. So there is a catalyst for the Haber process. That is one of the regularly asked question from the Haber process part. So that is this. What is the catalyst that is used in the Haber process? Name of the catalyst is spongy iron, or there are two names. One is spongy iron, or you can also tell it as finely powdered iron. Okay, so finely powdered iron, it is used as a catalyst in the Haber process. So inside the catalytic chamber there is spongy iron, and also there are some conditions that is maintained inside the catalytic chamber. That is this: the temperature it is maintained between 450 and 500 degrees Celsius. The temperature is maintained between 450 and 500 degrees Celsius. Just like that, the pressure is maintained between 200 to 900 atm pressure. So you can observe here the pressure inside the catalytic chamber, it is very much higher compared to any other reaction. So it is because nitrogen, it is normally inert in almost all the condition. Unless we are giving a high pressure or high temperature condition, nitrogen triple bond, it is not easy to break. So for the nitrogen to react with hydrogen, you need high pressure condition and also the presence of catalyst. So we are not taking high temperature condition here, we are preferring high pressure condition instead. Okay, so under this high pressure and this 450 and 500 degrees Celsius, in presence of the catalyst, nitrogen react with hydrogen. Okay, so just now we discussed that we have added nitrogen and hydrogen in 1:3 ratio. So here also it is happening in 1:3 ratio. One molecule of N2 will react with 3 molecule of H2 to form. I hope you remember this. So what do we mean by this? What is the difference between this arrow and this single double headed? half-headed arrow, it indicates a reversible reaction. A double-headed arrow, it indicates a irreversible reaction. Okay, so the reaction inside the catalytic chamber, it is a reversible reaction, and the product formed is NH3. There is no other byproduct, and there is one more thing that is happening here, that is this. What does this mean? At the end there is a delta. It means that the reaction that is taking place here, it is highly exothermic reaction, or in other words, heat is liberated outside when nitrogen and hydrogen react to form ammonia. Okay, so this much things are taking place inside the catalytic chamber. This is not all about what is happening inside the catalytic chamber. There are more. We'll discuss after this. Now, inside the catalytic chamber, almost a certain amount of nitrogen and hydrogen, it is reacting with each other to form ammonia. It is not like 100% of N2 and H2, it is converted into ammonia. So there will be some left over, there will be some amount of NH3, there will be some amount of nitrogen, there will be some amount of hydrogen. All these three gases, it is being transferred. So it is a mix of three gases, N2, H2 and NH3. So it is a mixture of three gases. All these three gases, it will be transferred to the next chamber. That chamber is called, cooling chamber. Okay, so what happens here? What happened here in the cooling chamber is this. So in the starting of this chapter, I have told about liquid and liquid ammonia. I hope you remember this. Liquid ammonia, it is the ammonia that is being liquefied under low temperature and high pressure condition. Ammonia, it can be converted into a liquid state. Ammonia gas, it can be liquefied, or it will be converted into ammonia liquid ammonia. Okay, so what they are doing in the cooling chamber, it is to convert the ammonia into liquid ammonia. So here there was three gases, nitrogen, and ammonia. Okay, so the thing is this, we are not keeping very low temperature for cooling the three gases. It means we are keeping around, I think, minus 80 degrees Celsius. It is around minus 80 degrees Celsius, I hope, not exact, I have to check it again. So what happens here is, if you are comparing these three gases, you can tell it likewise, ammonia is one of the easily liquefiable gases, while nitrogen and hydrogen, they are not easily liquefiable. Okay, so if you are comparing the three gases that is present inside, ammonia can be easily liquefied, and compared to other gases, it can be liquefied under little bit better temperature compared to other two gases. So ammonia can be easily liquefied, and nitrogen and hydrogen, it cannot be easily liquefied. So what happens if we are cooling these three gases is this: out of these three gases, only ammonia will be liquefied. Okay, so after passing through the cooling chamber, whatever things that is obtained in the gaseous form, it is passed again to the catalytic chamber. So all the gaseous part that is remaining in the cooling chamber, it is transferred back into the catalytic chamber. And I told that here cooling is taking place, or in other words, liquefaction is taking place. So whatever things that is liquefied inside the cooling chamber, it is taken outside. So just now I have told, out of these three gases, there is only one gas that is easily liquefiable, that is ammonia. So the liquid part, it will be the liquid ammonia, or ammonia in the liquid state. Okay, this is how we are preparing ammonia in the industry. So whatever that is left over, that is N2 and H2, it will be transferred back into the catalytic chamber, transferring them into the cooling chamber after the reaction takes place. Okay, so this is how ammonia is prepared in the laboratory. This process it is called Haber process. Now we are going to discuss little bit about the parts that is taking place inside the catalytic chamber. Mostly inside whatever that is taking place inside the catalytic chamber. So there are some important lessons that you are supposed to study in the reactions that is taking place in the catalytic chamber. So there was, while I was studying, there was a another topic in our syllabus that is called Le-Chatelier's principle. So that principle it is required for you to understand what is happening inside the catalytic chamber. So let's see what is happening in the catalytic chamber. Okay, now we are going to discuss about Le-Chatelier principle, but I won't be explaining what is Le-Chatelier principle and the factors. Okay, I will just go through the important stuff that is necessary for you. So we are going to compare between the left hand side and right hand side of the reversible reaction for the formation of ammonia using Haber process. So in the left hand side, in my left hand side, we are having N2 and 3H2. In the right hand side, we are having 2NH3 and also there is evolution of heat. So I can write this. What does this reversible arrow indicate? It means that at the same time, nitrogen and hydrogen it may react to form ammonia and heat. Energy will be released, or it will be exothermic reaction. So at the same time, when nitrogen and hydrogen react to form ammonia and liberate heat, there can be also one more possibility, that is this. Ammonia absorbs this heat and it can decompose itself into hydrogen and hydrogen. Okay, I hope this is little bit too much for your syllabus. So just think of it likewise. Nitrogen, it reacts with hydrogen to form ammonia. Just like that, one more reaction is possible, that is ammonia, it can decompose after absorbing heat to decompose itself into its reactant, that is N2 and H2. So if you need, I can write it just like this: N2 plus 3H2. I am not writing the reversible arrow here, but that doesn't means it is not it is a reversible reaction. So this is one of the possibility of this reaction. So the next reaction, it will be this 2NH3 plus delta. I am writing the arrow in the opposite direction. This is the reactant. Okay. So NH3 will produce 3H2 plus N2. If you need, I can write it. You can write the NH3 and delta in the left hand side and N2 and 3H2 in the right hand side. So if you are analyzing these two reactions, N2 plus 3H2 gives 2NH3 plus delta. So since there is a delta here, this is a exothermic reaction, or in other words, heat is liberated outside. So the first reaction, the formation of NH3 from N2 and 3H2, it is an exothermic reaction. Okay. Now what about this second reaction? 2NH3 and heat. When ammonia absorbs heat, it will produce N2 and 3H2. So here heat is absorbed, in the previous case heat is released. So when heat is released, it is called exothermic reaction. So when the heat is absorbed, this reaction is called endothermic reaction. So the first reaction, that is formation of ammonia, it is an exothermic reaction. The second reaction, that is the formation of N2 and H2 from ammonia, it is a endothermic reaction. Okay, so in other words, you can tell it likewise. The first reaction or the forward reaction or the reaction to form ammonia, it prefers the increase in temperature. Okay, or whenever the nitrogen and hydrogen react to form ammonia, temperature increases. And when it is opposite, whenever the ammonia decomposes, the temperature it is decreased. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And writing the exothermic and endothermic part. So, Le-Chatelier principle, even though I don't need to discuss that, I'm just explaining a little bit. So, it is a principle that is only for reversible reactions under equilibrium. Okay, you don't have to go through that now. So, it is likewise, just imagine that this is under a certain kind of equilibrium or something. So, if any of the conditions like pressure, temperature, or catalyst or concentration of any of the reactants or products, it changes, there will be some counter effect in the system. Or in other words, suppose I hope you remember the conditions for this reaction. So the condition that we were taking was 450 to 500 degrees Celsius, 200 to 900 atm pressure, and finely powdered iron as the catalyst. So these are the three conditions that we have taken, and also 1:3 ratio of nitrogen and hydrogen. These are the conditions that we have taken for the preparation of ammonia using Haber process. Suppose if we change any of these 4 factors, there will be some changes in the amount of product that is formed. Okay, we are supposed to discuss about that. It is important in your syllabus. So we are going to discuss about what happened when we change the temperature first. Okay, suppose I try to increase the temperature of this reaction. Okay, so the optimum temperature for this reaction was 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. Okay, in other words, Haber process, for the Haber process, the condition for the reaction was the temperature must be between 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. Okay, suppose I increase the temperature to somewhat like 1000 degrees Celsius. So I made it almost double. Okay, more than double I guess. Okay, so I have increased the temperature in this reaction. What is going to happen? So if you look at these two sub reaction under this reversible cases, so N2 plus 3s2 gives 2NH3 plus E. Okay, or in other words, forward reaction, it is exothermic reaction, it will produce more amount of heat. Okay, so already the temperature, it is more than optimum value. So if the forward reaction is taking place, or if the first reaction is taking place to produce ammonia and heat, the temperature it will increase further than what we needed. Okay, so in other words, if you are doing the forward reaction, or in other words, if you are producing, if the first reaction, that is N2 plus 3H2 is 2NH3, it takes place, it will increase the temperature further, that is not favored. The favorable temperature was 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. If the system or this the catalytic chamber, it won't support the further increase of temperature, or in other words, instead of increasing the temperature, it prefers to decrease the temperature to the optimum condition. Or in other words, if we increase the temperature of the catalytic chamber, it tries to decrease the temperature back to the optimum condition. What was the optimum case? For 50 to 500 degrees Celsius. So here we double the temperature, so the inside the catalytic chamber, the reaction will proceed in such a way to reduce the temperature back to the initial one. For this temperature, which we change to 500 degrees Celsius, after some time, it will be converted back into 500 degrees Celsius, 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. My question is how to convert from 1000 degrees Celsius back to 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. This is what that is going to happen if you are doing the forward reaction, or if you are synthesizing ammonia, it will liberate more heat. But if ammonia absorb that heat, it will decompose. Or in other words, this is what that is going to happen. So if you are increasing the temperature, the second reaction, this second reaction takes place. Or in other words, it is supposed to be a reversible reaction, but most of the reaction that will be taking place, it will be the decomposition reaction of ammonia to N2 and 3H2 by absorbing heat. The reason is because we increase the temperature. So if we increase the temperature, what will happen? Ammonia that is produced in the reaction, it will decompose back into nitrogen and hydrogen. So in the Haber process, the optimum temperature is kept as 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. So if we try to increase that temperature, it's not exactly the case, but I am trying to simplify as much as possible for you. So if we are trying to increase the temperature, the system will, the process inside the catalytic chamber, it will undergo that reaction which can decrease the temperature. So if you try to increase the temperature, what happens? 2NH3 or ammonia that is produced here, it will decompose back into nitrogen and hydrogen. Ammonia in the catalytic chamber, it will decompose into N2 and H2. So inside the catalytic chamber, you are not, after taking the reactants and products in the catalytic, after reactants and products are available in the catalytic chamber, you are not supposed to increase the temperature above 500 degrees Celsius, or in other words, you are supposed to keep the temperature between 450 and 500 degrees Celsius. Okay, now my question, next question is this. So this is what happen if we increase the temperature. What will happen if we decrease the temperature? So this is what that is going to happen if we decrease the temperature. So the optimum temperature, it was 450 to 500. Suppose I am if I am decreasing the temperature to some 100 or 50 degrees Celsius. So the optimum temperature was 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. So the reaction will go in such a way to convert that 50 or 100 degrees Celsius back to the optimum temperature, that is 450 to 500. So how can that be done? So if you are to increase the temperature, there is only one way, that is by doing this reaction. Okay, here it is a exothermic reaction. So if this reaction is going on, what happened? That temperature inside the catalytic chamber, it increases. So after some time, the temperature will increase from our 100 degrees Celsius back to the normal value. Okay, so if we try to increase the temperature, it will the ammonia will decompose. If we try to decrease the temperature, ammonia will be formed. But there is a problem in the second case. So I hope you remember about the problem with the nitrogen. Nitrogen is one of, even though it is reactive, it is considered as inert gas. Okay, it is not an inert element, but it is an inert gas. So the reason is because nitrogen is having very strong triple covalent bond. Okay, so it is not easy to crack the nitrogen triple covalent bond. So the only way to break that bond, it is by giving high pressure, high temperature or high energy condition. I hope you remember the acid rain, the formation of NO and NO2 that happens when there is lightning. So one another way is to heat the nitrogen above 300 degree, 3000 degrees Celsius, and the other way it is to increase the pressure around 200 to 900 atm pressure. But the problem is, if we are decreasing the temperature below 450 degrees Celsius, the nitrogen it will be enough. Okay, so we are not if we decrease the temperature, it is supposed to give more amount of ammonia. But the problem is, if you are decreasing the temperature, this nitrogen it won't react with the hydrogen. It is supposed to give lot of ammonia, but since the nitrogen is inert under low temperature condition, we are always keeping the temperature at a particular range, that is 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. I hope you remember the first reaction, that is an exothermic reaction. So if an exothermic reaction takes place, the 450-500 range, it will increase, right? So what they are doing here is this: whenever the forward reaction takes place, a little bit of heat energy is obtained in the catalytic chamber. They are removing that heat energy and they are maintaining the 450 to 500 degrees Celsius range. Okay, all the excess heat energy they are removing from the catalytic converter using certain medium. So always the temperature will be kept between 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. If the temperature, why they are keeping it between 450 and 500 degrees Celsius? If they are decreasing the temperature below that, there won't be any reaction. If they are increasing the temperature, the ammonia, the product that we want, it will decompose back into nitrogen and hydrogen. Okay, I hope you understood about the conditions of about the condition of temperature in the Haber process. So if you don't, just go back, listen once again. The Le Chatelier's principle, it will be, you can access, you can refer that from the internet if you want. I think it is at 11th or 12th class syllabus. Actually, it was not a 11th or 12th class syllabus when I was studying. So if it is an easy topic, little bit complication will be there. I think I have explained whatever the complication that is present in the Le Chatelier principle. Just go and refer Haber process and Le Chatelier principle. Okay, so you can even refer the Wikipedia, that is also okay for me. Now we are going to discuss the next condition, that is about the pressure. Okay, I'm going to erase it. So what was the condition of the pressure for the Haber process? It is 200 to 900 atm. So that much high pressure is required for the production of ammonia from the Haber process. Or in other words, you can just imagine that at high pressure, more amount of ammonia will be produced. So under low pressure condition, ammonia will decompose into N2 and H2. I'll explain just a little bit about that. So I'll write the reversible reaction here, N2 plus 3H2. Reversibly gives 2NH3. Here we are discussing only about the pressure, so I am not writing anything about temperature here. So I am dividing that into two, this reaction into two parts. The first one, it is the reaction for production of ammonia. So actually I am not supposed to write it in the two steps. It is for your better understanding. I am writing it two steps. Actually you are supposed to study about reversible reaction, forward reaction and backward reaction. Because before studying this, that is not explained in your syllabus. That is the problem here. So just count the number of molecules. So here there is 2. Count the number of molecules of gases, that is the reactant side and product side. Here there is 1 molecule. Here there is 1 molecule. Sorry, 3 molecule, and the product side is 2 molecule. Okay, just if you are writing it in based on volume, 1 volume plus 3 volume, it will give 2 volume. So in other words, the volume it is decreasing when we are moving from, when we are producing ammonia from N2N hydrogen. Okay, so in other words, the volume it is reduced to half when we are producing N2 and when we are producing NH3 from N2 and H2. So, just imagine, just consider a series that is enclosed. Okay, I'll just draw a little bit. I think okay. We are studying Goldstone the last year. I hope you remember. So what happened if I am increasing the pressure? Okay. So this is what is going to happen after I increase the pressure. How to increase the pressure? We have to pull the piston inside. So when it is low, when the piston is moving inside, the pressure it will be increased as well as the volume it will be reduced. So if we are increasing the pressure, the volume will reduce. So here, if you are looking at the first reaction, that is N2 plus H2 forming NH3, here the volume it is reduced into almost half. Or in other words, to reduce the volume, what we are supposed to increase? So you have to remember the Boyle's law at constant temperature, the pressure and volume they are inversely proportional. Or in other words, when pressure increases, volume decreases. So here, in order to form ammonia, we need to reduce the volume. So to reduce the volume, we need to increase the pressure. So if you are increasing the pressure, that means here the volume will decrease. Or in other words, more amount of ammonia will be formed if you are increasing the pressure. So there will be a question, why we are keeping it under 200 to 900 atm? Why can't we increase it further? So we will get more amount of ammonia. The problem is that is like the maximum amount of pressure that a normal catalytic chamber can hold under normal condition. So above that pressure, it is not safe for that industry to perform this reaction. Okay, so there is one more condition. We have to keep the temperature around 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. Under that condition, it is not easy to have a pressure that is higher than 900 atm. That is the reason why we are keeping the pressure in between 200 to 900 atm. So if the pressure is nearby 900 atm, the yield of ammonia will be maximum. Okay, now let's discuss what is happening in the reverse case. Now I will write the ammonia in the left hand side. NH3, 2 NH3 will decompose into 1 NH1N2 plus 3 H2. So if I am writing based on the volume, 2 volume NH3 gives 1 volume N2 plus 3 volume H2. So in other words, if you are looking at it, 2 volume, it will give almost a total of 4 volume. So in this reaction, what is happening? Volume is increasing. So if you remember the Boyle's law, if volume needs to be increased, the pressure has to be decreased. So under any condition, so suppose there was some leakage in the catalytic chamber or any other place in the Haber process. So what happened? The volume of the chamber, if it is increased, what happened? The pressure. If the pressure is decreased, if something happened to the catalytic chamber, in other words, what will happen? To avoid the decreasing pressure, more amount of ammonia will decompose into N2 and H2 to avoid that decrease in pressure. Okay, so I hope you understood about whatever I have discussed about the pressure. I think the first part it is more important compared to the second part. I think if they are asked, they will ask only about the first part only. Now, there are two other cases in your textbook. There is only one more important case that is discussed here. Just a second. Okay, the next condition, it is about the catalyst and promoter as well as the poison. Okay, so I hope you remember what is a catalyst. A catalyst is a substance that can increase or decrease the speed or rate of a chemical reaction. Okay, so there are some catalysts that can increase the speed of reaction. They are called positive catalysts. There are some catalysts that can decrease the rate or speed of a chemical reaction. They are called negative catalysts. What about the spongy ion here? So we don't want to reduce the amount of ammonia, right? It is an industry. We want maximum amount of ammonia. So definitely the spongy ion that is used, spongy ion or finely powdered ion that is used in the Haber process, that is definitely a positive catalyst. So what happens if there is, suppose we have taken all the proper condition in the Haber process, but we don't have added the catalyst, it means the amount of ammonia that is produced, it will be reduced to a very minimum quantity. Okay, so catalyst is one of the another factor that increases the yield of ammonia that is produced in the Haber process. Other than that, there are some other things that I want to discuss. The first thing is promoter, or in other words, catalytic promoter. A catalytic promoter is something that can activate the catalyst, or it can increase the efficiency of a catalyst. So here, along with the iron, you can use any of the two of the promoter that is available, that is molybdenum. Either you can write it likewise, Fe bar MO. Okay, so Fe is a catalyst, MO is a catalytic promoter, or there is one another promoter that can use, that is Al2O3, alumina. So you will study about alumina in the other chapters, metallurgy chapter. So any of this promoter can be used as the catalytic promoter. So if you are just using the catalyst finely powdered iron, the amount of ammonia will be certain amount. Just imagine you have got a certain amount of ammonia using just spongy iron. If you are using molybdenum or aluminum oxide as a promoter, the yield of ammonia, it will again increase. So if you are having any of the catalyst, if you are adding a catalyst, or if you are increasing the amount of promoter, if you are adding any of these two promoters, it can increase the yield of ammonia. Now there is one more part that I am supposed to discuss about the Haber process, that is about the catalytic poison. So a promoter is something that can activate the catalyst, or it can increase the efficiency of a catalyst. So a catalytic poison is something that can reduce the activity or reduce the efficiency of the catalyst. So the catalytic poison that is available for iron, they are carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur compounds like H2S. Okay, so if there is any presence of these three gases, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, oxides of sulfur as well as H2S, if any of these three gases, any of these four gases, they are present, if it is attached to the our catalyst, the rate or efficiency of our catalyst, it will reduce to very low amount. Okay, so there is one more thing that we should discuss, that is about the reactant N2 and H2. When we are giving N2 and H2, if there is any of these four gases along with nitrogen and hydrogen, it can reduce the activity of the catalyst. It can reduce the yield of ammonia that is produced in the Haber process. So when you are when you are doing the Haber process, when you are taking the reactants, you should you must make sure that it is free of the four gases, that is carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, H2S, as well as oxides of sulfur. Now that's all about the Haber process. There is one more condition that is not explained in this chapter, in this textbook. So if you are increasing the amount of reactants, this is okay, you can consider it as out of syllabus. Just go through that now. If you are increasing the amount of reactants, suppose we increase the quantity of N2 and H2, we added a lot of N2 and H2. What happened here? I have to write the other two reactions once again. Suppose if I increase the volume of reactants, either I can increase the volume of nitrogen or volume of hydrogen, or I can increase volume of both. Suppose I have increased the volume of any of these three, what happens is, since there is a large amount of N2 or H2 or both, the reaction will go in such a manner to reduce the amount of the reactant. So if the amount of reactants is more, there will be a reaction which favors to decrease the amount of nitrogen or hydrogen that we are adding. So in other words, if we are continuously adding nitrogen and hydrogen to the catalytic chamber, it will favor the production of ammonia by converting the reactant, that is N2 plus 3H2 into ammonia. So it will try to reduce the extra added N2 and H2 by converting them into ammonia. And there is one more case. If the amount of ammonia is increased, the system or the reaction will go in such a manner to decrease the amount of ammonia. So that is this ammonia. So if amount of ammonia is more, the ammonia will decompose into N2 and H2. Okay. So there is one important parameter that is for the Haber process. So that is this: we will continuously add, or within a certain interval of time, we will continuously add the reactant to the catalytic chamber. Okay, so we will add N2 or H2 to the catalytic chamber. I hope you remember the diagram for Haber process. There is a cooling chamber that is going up, that is collecting the gas from the catalytic chamber, that is liquefying the ammonia, that is removing the ammonia. So we are reducing the amount of ammonia, we are increasing the amount of reactant. If we don't reduce the amount of ammonia, if the amount of ammonia is more, it will decompose easily. So to avoid excess ammonia, we will continuously take the gases from the catalytic chamber and we will try to liquefy the ammonia. The remaining N2 and H2, they are taken back into the catalytic chamber. Again, if the ammonia is produced, we will be taking that ammonia, we will be liquefying it, and we will be removing that liquid ammonia. So this is what that is going to happen inside the Haber process plant. We will continuously add the reactants to the catalytic chamber where the temperature, pressure, catalyst, promoter, everything is switched. Whenever the product is formed, whenever the reaction is initiated, a little bit amount of the gas, it is taken into the cooling chamber. So from the cooling chamber, what happened? The ammonia, the product that we want, that is ammonia that is produced in the reaction, it will be cooled, it will be compressed, it will be liquefied, and the liquid ammonia is removed. the gaseous products, the gases that are not liquefied, that is nitrogen and hydrogen, the reactants, the unreacted nitrogen and hydrogen, it will be taken back to the catalytic chamber to continue with the reaction till all the nitrogen and hydrogen it is converted into NH3. This cycle will goes on and there will be continuous addition of more amount of N2 and H2. This is the industrial manufacture of ammonia. This is how we are producing ammonia in industry. Don't forget the name of this process. It is Haber process. The conditions for 50 to 500 degrees temperature, 200 to 900 atm pressure, catalyst is finely pounded iron, the promoter molybdenum or aluminum oxide. And you are supposed to remember the conditions. There are certain conditions. If you add more amount of reactant, more amount of product will be formed. If the amount of ammonia inside the catalytic chamber it is increased, the amount ammonia will start to decompose into nitrogen and hydrogen. It will reduce the yield of ammonia. Because of that reason, ammonia is continuously removed from the catalytic chamber. Now, other than that, if you are increasing the temperature, it will have there will be a tendency for decomposition of ammonia. So we are not supposed to increase the temperature above 500 degrees Celsius. If we decrease the temperature, the nitrogen that is reacting with the hydrogen, it will stay as in it. It won't react with the hydrogen below 450 degrees Celsius. So the temperature is kept between 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. Pressure. So we have discussed about the pressure. If you are increasing the pressure, it will promote the production of ammonia. If we are decreasing the pressure, it will promote the production of nitrogen and hydrogen. So always we are keeping this catalytic chamber under high pressure condition. Okay. So that is all about Haber process. You are not supposed to forget about the reaction. And also there is one more thing. If you are asked to write, if there is a question, write the balanced chemical equation for the industrial manufacture of ammonia. Suppose that is a 1 mark question. So if you have written this much, you will get half mark. Sorry, if you have written this much, you will get half mark. If it is a 1 mark question. So what is missing? You are supposed to write. They are not asking how to produce ammonia from nitrogen and hydrogen. They are asking the reaction of Haber process. If the question is about the Haber process, if the question is about the chemical reaction that is taking place in the Haber process, you are supposed to write all the conditions above and below that arrow. That is temperature 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. 200 to 900 atm pressure and spongy iron as catalyst. You just need to write it as Fe, and the promoter, that is molybdenum. You can write either molybdenum or aluminum oxide. So this much is compulsory to get the full mark for the chemical reaction for industrial manufacture of ammonia or the chemical reaction for the Haber process. So next one, it is chemical and physical properties of ammonia. So today we are not having enough time, so we'll just take the we'll discuss some of the physical properties of ammonia. So ammonia is a colorless gas. So I think all of you have smelled ammonia. You don't have to go to the chemistry lab. So in the starting of this chapter, I have told that ammonia is it is also used for the preparation of urea. So urea, it is one of the major constituent in our urine. So if urea is decomposing, it will produce the ammonia gas. Or in other words, if your toilet is not cleaned properly, you would have already smelled ammonia. That smell is the smell of ammonia. So it is a colorless gas. The odor or the smell, it is a pungent smell. It is a pungent choking smell if you are inhaling. Okay, whatever you smell, it is actually dilute ammonia. In our lab, we are having more concentrated one. I hope you will have the chance to inhale it properly. Now, taste. So, I have told before all the acid they are having sour taste, and all the bases they are having a bitter taste. So, ammonia, it is one of the bases. So, it is having a bitter or alkaline taste, bitter taste. Okay, so it is not poisonous, but if you are inhaling too much, it is not good for your respiratory system. If there is a high concentrated ammonia gas, definitely you will cry. It is not the tear gas, but still it can make tears if it is under very high concentration. It is toxic if you are inhaling too much high amount. Its density is lower than air, so it will definitely rise up if you are releasing it to the atmosphere. Okay, so later, before I have told it can be liquefied at some 80 degrees Celsius, that is wrong. Nitrogen, I think nitrogen is liquefied at minus 80 degrees Celsius. This ammonia can be liquefied at 10 degrees Celsius itself. Okay, so nitrogen and hydrogen, they are not easily liquefiable, but ammonia, it can be easily liquefied. Because of this reason, ammonia was once used in refrigerator, but now we are not using. The reason is we are having better refrigerant or better coolant gases compared to ammonia. So ammonia is excluded from even though it can still be used, it will work, but the efficiency will be not that much as compared to other refrigerants. Now ammonia is also highly soluble in water. So the next experiment that we are supposed to discuss, it is to prove the two properties of ammonia. One is this high solubility of ammonia in water. Just like HCl, ammonia is also highly soluble in water. And the second one that we need to discuss, it is about the basicity of ammonia, to prove that ammonia is a base. So in the last chapter, I have told that when we are dealing with the red fountain experiment, I told that there will be a similar experiment in the next chapter, that will be blue fountain experiment, that will be for ammonia. So the next thing that we are supposed to discuss, it is the blue fountain experiment. So I will be taking that in the next class. So before going through the next class, just go back to the previous sessions. Just check the red fountain experiment for HCl. I won't be explaining much about the blue fountain experiment. Just go through the factors that we have discussed in the HCl chapter. So in the next chapter, session, we will be completing the blue fountain experiment and other experiments in the ammonia chapter. That will be all for today. So we'll stop this section now. Thank you.